today's topic is mainly about data maturity. But but before before we talk about data maturity or what it is and how to define it and all that stuff, let's try to understand why we need to understand about data maturity. So if you are like a new data engineer who is trying to who just entered the field, or even if you are a senior data engineer or a mid-level data engineer who worked in multiple different companies, probably you would have noticed that the data engineering role looks completely different from place to place or company to company and role to role, right? And then also most people are generally confused about this, and also many people wonder what are the actual roles and responsibilities of a data engineer. And for example, if you ask like 10 people, that if you ask 10 people about like what are the roles and responsibilities of a data engineer, you'll probably get like 10 different answers. Okay. So some people will say, oh, you have to develop Python scripts. Some people will say you have to develop PySpark code. And then some people will say you have to write SQL code. Okay. Or some people will say you have to automate stuff. Some say you have to optimize stuff. Some people will even go one step further and say you have to improve the performance of data pipelines. And some say design data pipelines, or define and design the data architecture. And then some people will say you have to do data modeling. So you will probably get like, if you ask 10 people, you will probably get like 10 different answers. Okay. And then it doesn't mean that you have to do all these 10 different things at the single company, but it kind of varies from company to company, but most people don't really understand, and based on what criteria or what kind of criteria, it varies from companies to company. Okay. And the criteria here we want to talk about is data maturity. Okay. So before talking more about this criteria and how the roles and responsibilities of a data engineer like evolves between the companies or in the teams, so we should first try to understand what does data maturity even stands for. Okay. um and let's try to understand that. So basically, we can say that a team or company has a high data maturity if the team is using the data effectively. Okay. So if the team is using the data effectively, um, in order to make decisions, okay, then we say that that team has high data maturity. Okay. And vice versa, of course. When we say that a team has low data maturity, when we say that a team has low data maturity, then the team is not using the data effectively. Okay. So this might sound like this might sound a little bit of like a vague definition, right? Yeah, I feel the same. But let's understand a little bit more about it. So high data maturity, using the data effectively. Low data maturity, not using the data effectively at all. But you might be wondering why we need to use data at all in first place, right? And if we have that kind of question, like why we have to use data, then That's what like data engineering, I would say, that's what data engineering is actually all about. Okay. So not just about, actually, to be honest, let's put it this way. It's not just about data engineering. It's any kind of role. Okay. Data engineering, data analyst or data scientist or any kind of role, any kind of data role exists because we want to, use the data effectively. We need to get the value out of the data, and that's why any kind of data roles exist. Okay. And how do we do that? So we have to convert raw data into useful data. Okay. And then useful to whom? Useful to business people. Okay. And then how they will use it? They will use it to make decisions, right? So they will use it to make decisions. And what happens? Why do they? You might be wondering as well, like why do they even need to make decisions, right? So they need to make decisions. You know, they need to make decisions to improve product performance. Okay, and or to basically optimize processes. Okay, and thereby basically generating more revenue and profits. So, so that's the main objective for most companies, right? So, so that's why so in order to achieve these things, that's why they have to make decisions. And then who has to make the decisions? Business people, our companies has to make the decisions. And then normally how they used to make the decisions, most of the time they used to make decisions on not so much of data. It's more of a gut feeling, or it's more of let's try this and see if it works, and that kind of way. Okay. So, so instead of making the decisions on gut feeling, and if we want to increase the percentage of success for of decision making, then we need to use data for making the decisions. Okay. And then and then we can say the companies are like high level of data maturity when they are using the data effectively to make the better decisions and get value out of the data, right? And then we can say that a company has like not so high level, or relatively low level of data maturity when they are not able to use the data effectively to make better decisions. So that is about data maturity. Okay. So, and unfortunately, this is like one of the most important concepts that is applicable to any kind of data roles, but many people ignore it and many people won't talk about it. But this two words, data maturity, this word actually quietly like determines like what kind of tools you use at work, what kind of how much complexity you might get at your work, how much complex tasks you will need to perform at work, and then um, what kind of expectations will be set on your work. So everything will be basically decided by this single term called data maturity. Okay, so. And then, in order to understand a little bit more about data maturity, we have to look at the uh, three-stage model that normally all the companies typically go through. So let's try to understand that the three-stage model. Okay, that three-stage model or base is like a three different phases that companies normally go through in their in their data journey, in their journey to become completely data driven. Okay, so let's look at them, right? So the first stage is just starting with the data. So we are going to talk about all these three stages in detail, or three phases in detail. But first stage is starting with data. Okay. And then next step will be scaling with data. Okay. Scaling with data. And then maybe the final step. Okay. It's not like the fullest final step, but maybe the final step would be leading with data. So, so this is stage one, and then this is stage two, and then this is stage three. And trust me, guys, when I say this, these three stages, okay, are like some of the most important stages that you need to be knowing. Okay, so if you want to understand like how a company evolves in its data journey, or how a company goes through, the typical data journey in order to become fully data driven decision making. You need to really know and understand these phases or stages. Okay. And these will of course also shed some light on your responsibilities as a data engineer or data analyst and a data scientist. Okay. So let's try to understand. Basically, um, in in each, okay, basically in each stage, there will be teams will be operating like little bit or actually like quite differently. Okay, let's understand how differently and what kind of how normally people function, and then what kind of roles and responsibilities that people normally see in these phases, and let's try to understand this. Okay. Yeah. So in the first phase, so let's say, so now you have a team, or you have a company. So let's imagine that there is a team. Okay. um, they are already making some kind of decisions at their work, but then the success rate of those decisions is, let's say, not that good. Some decisions sometimes, whatever the decisions they're making, they're giving good results, and sometimes they're not giving that good results, let's say that. So what happens is that normally there will be like some smart guys in each and every companies and each and every teams, right? So a smart guy like that, what he will do or what she will do, so they will realize that, okay, so we are actually not making decisions based on the data. So they will realize that we are making decisions based only on our gut feeling, or only on the limited amount of data. And then they will basically say that, let's not do this. We already have like so much data in our company. Let's try to use that data to make the better decisions. So they will come up with that plan. Okay, with they will have that kind of initial idea. Okay, so with that initial idea in mind, what they will do is they will basically go to the big bosses. Okay, so big bosses. So everyone will be reporting to some big bosses, right? So these people are the big bosses. Okay. So these are like really important people. So they are probably like the executive management and all those people. Okay. So, the person whoever realized that, okay, we need to improve our decision making and using the data. So what they will do is they will go to these big bosses to get the initial funding. Okay. So, yeah. So to get the initial funding. So initial funding for what? So initial funding to build the data platform. So obviously, like if you want to if you want to use data to make decisions, you can't use the data directly, right? Because we have, if you have watched my previous video on data engineering life cycle, Now you might have understood that data can be coming from like various different sources. It can be coming from web applications or mobile applications or logs or sensor data or IoT data, or it can be coming from like different places and in different formats. Now, so now what you have to do is like you have to combine all this data, gather all this data into one place, apply some kind of a business logic on top of the data, do some kind of a processing on the data, and then only you will be able to use that data, right? And then in order to do all this stuff, of course, you need to build this important thing called data platform, right? And and you can't build it for free, of course, because you need to pay for the compute, you need to pay for the storage, and you need someone to build it, right? And then that someone will be will essentially be data engineers, okay, in this phase. But here is the catch. In this phase, the data engineers are more like a generalist. Okay, I am using the new word called generalist. Okay, so these people are not just like are not just specialists. Okay, these people are more like generalists. Okay, here in this phase, there will be mainly generalists. So generalist is more like they have like different skills, because when you are initially setting up the data platform, when you get the funding from big bosses, and then when you are setting up the data platform in stage one, you are starting with data. So you need like a people like who can work on so many different things, and the different things can be basically okay, and the different things can basically be, so only one has to do data engineering, one has to set up infrastructure. For example, if you are building your data platform, if you have plans to build your data platform in cloud, basically you have to set up your cloud subscription or cloud account, and then you have to set up all the different services or components, and then you have to do all that, right? So you have to kind of act like a setup infrastructure engineer, and you kind of will also act like a data engineer, and then you will also maybe do some kind of data analysis as well, and then you might also act like a data scientist as well, even though you might get the question. I'm pretty sure you might get the question like, okay, so we don't have any data at all, we don't have any data platform at all, but how come data scientists come here? Aren't they supposed to like run and build machine learning algorithms and models and stuff like that, right? So that's they can actually come, you know. Um, so when we say starting with data is like a phase, so every phase has like a start and end, right? So obviously like they won't come in the starting phase. They might come somewhere near to the end phase. Okay. But it's still the starting with data phase, first phase. Okay. So you need to be completely aware of that. So so now actually in this first stage, it's more like a data engineers or whoever get recruited into this role or whoever got hired into this role is more like a generalist role. Okay, so you will have to do like everything basically. Okay, you are expected to do everything. So you are expected to do data engineering, data analytics, and then data you're setting up infrastructure, and then also, for example, I'm ignoring the business part here, which is gathering requirements and all that stuff. Okay, um, so so that's on the role side. And then one more important thing one need to really understand in this stage is, so in these roles, so it's still like a experimentation phase. It's still like a vague idea. Okay, starting with data, it's still like experimentation phase. So here Of course, like some initial goals will be defined, but at the same time, those won't be still as concrete as the matured data platforms, right? So you need to be completely aware of that. So these are still vague goals. Okay. Um, so that's a little bit of a risk factor. And then in this phase, generally, since your boss or you would have probably like got the funding from big bosses, okay, they will be expecting something in return, and that is the most important thing you need to be aware of. Okay, so obviously, like no one want to give the money for free, right? So they will be, if you are spending like 10 rupees, like you will be expecting 100 rupees in return, or at least 15 rupees in return, right? Otherwise, you why would you want to waste your money and time? So you basically don't want to do that, right? So that's why big bosses in this case, they will, since they provided the funding for our data platform, they will be expecting the return on investment. They will be expecting some kind of value to show up in this phase. Okay. But and you need to remember one more thing. So in this phase, the funding is also not huge. Okay. It's just still little bit of funding. It's not like they won't give away like so much money just to spend on the data platform, which they are not sure whether it will work or not. Work or not. So So that's why, so they will give away some money, and then they will be expecting that you will show some results. Okay. So that is the pressure you need to be, um, you need to keep that in mind. Okay. So this phase will kind of have like really strong deadlines. Otherwise, your data platform can fall off as an idea itself. Okay. So you need to like you need to this is more like experimentation phase. Even though it is like experimentation phase, you still need to show some kind of value to the big bosses or the business people who are investing the money into it. So what you'll normally end up doing in this phase is like you'll build something quick, okay, using out of the box solutions. Okay. um Yeah, because you have to get quick wins in this phase to secure more funding and to move on to the next phase and evolve more in the data-driven decision-making journey. So, so you have to build something quickly using out-of-the-box solutions in the whatever vendor you were using. It can be Databricks or Snowflake or Microsoft Fabric, or it can be anything. Okay, whatever you are using, it doesn't matter. So you have to use some features and some features which are inbuilt, something like plug and play or out of the box solutions, and then you have to get those quick wins and then show value to the business. Okay, then you might end up securing more funding. Okay, and then so the securing more funding will be in this phase. Okay. So before we jump onto the second phase, you have to keep one most important point in mind. Since since basically these are like quick and easy wins using out of the box solutions, not like so customized solutions. At this stage, in the stage one, basically you might not even have, most of the companies, I'm talking most, not all, most of the companies might not even have like a proper DevOps or governance practices and all that stuff. Okay. So since these are like quick wins using out of the box solutions, they basically will create some kind of tech debt. Okay. So you have to deal with this later. You have to make a plan to deal with this later, and you have to deal with it. Otherwise, your platform will be at stake. So yeah, so that's one most important thing to keep in mind. Okay, and then in the second phase, scaling with data. So This phase is mainly about, in this phase, you will normally end up establishing, DevOps or data ops practices in general. Okay. So this is a little bit of a matured phase. You will have the, data platform up and running. Okay. So So you will move away from, all the manual scripts and manual tasks, and then you will try to automate stuff. Okay. And you will try to set up, initial security models in place, and then you will try to set up some kind of governance in this phase. Okay. And then, of course, you still need to keep providing more business value to the business people. This is again most important. Okay. um, so in the first phase, you showed business people that you can get value out of the data. um, and then in the second phase, it's more like scaling the data platform more. Okay, providing more business value to the business people. Okay, it's mainly about that one. And here, most often, the issue is, when I say scaling, you might think like vertical scaling, horizontal scaling, and then scaling up the cluster with adding more nodes. No, no, don't think like that. So most often, scaling in that way is not the real problem. It is actually a challenge for sure. I agree, but that's not the real problem here. Scaling the data platform to add more value. Okay. And um and then, scaling the team as well. Okay. So here, in phase one, we saw that basically it was more of generalist role, right? So in this phase, in this phase two, you will start seeing specialist roles. Okay. So specialist roles in the sense, roles where people only mainly work on, for example, ingestion. Okay. Or people only mainly work on business logic or transformation or handling duplicates or enriching data, or they're only focusing on their business domain. Okay. That kind of stuff. So you'll start seeing specialist roles like only analytics. You'll also start seeing analytics roles, or a little bit of data science roles as well, because you are in phase two, and you've already have data in the data platform, and your data platform is up and running, and then you have some kind of security model and automation and governance in place. You are providing more value to the business people. um, so so you'll start seeing specialist roles in this phase. Okay. And then if we talk about the final phase, okay, this is leading with data. This is basically, this is what every company has to aim for. Okay. So this is being truly data driven. Sorry for my spelling. Yeah. So this is being truly data driven. Okay. So completely, you have like now, automated data pipelines here. Okay. Full on data cataloging and proper data governance, and proper metadata management practices. Okay. Proper metadata management practices, uh, very nice security. Okay. And you are providing like business value to the business people or company at any given point of time in this phase. Okay, that's very important. So, and then in this phase, basically, even if you want to add like, for example, if you want to add like, new data sources, you should be able to like do it in automated way, and then in more easy way. Okay. So, and then Data in this data platform in this final stage is like completely trustable. Okay. And full on have like nicely implemented data quality checks and all that stuff. And your platform is like stable, reliable, okay, and completely robust. And then here also you will have specialist roles, okay. But then even the specialist roles, you will see like proper communication has been established between specialist roles as well. Like everyone knows what to do, and then everyone is in proper sync and communicating effectively, and then getting the value to the business at all times. So this is like the most ideal phase. But many people or many of the projects will fall off in phase one or phase two, or get stuck in phase two basically. But the final phase is like the awesome phase. Okay. And here, even though once you are in this phase, it doesn't mean that, okay, this, this not at all means that, okay, it's done. Okay. I'm not saying that it's done. Okay. You still need to keep on expanding your platform with the new sources and new data and providing more value to actually more stakeholders. Okay. So that should be the objective. And then in these three phases, now you might have observed that the roles and responsibilities of a data engineer or the data people changes completely, right? Because some of the companies can be in phase one, some can be some of the companies can be in phase one, some can be in phase two, some can be in phase three. So depending on which phase a company is in or which phase a team is in, your role is going to look completely different. And I would say it's completely up to you to choose, um, like choose basically which employer or what kind of data maturity team you want to go in. Okay. And I would say it's not just about salary, it's not just about position, or it's not just about anything, right? So it's about your priority as well. Okay. It's about your skill set as well. You need to know completely about yourself as well. You need to know where your skill set stands, and then accordingly you have to choose the team. Okay. And that's fine. So but but I'm not saying like phase one is bad. Phase one is also nice, because if you join at phase one, okay, uh, you have to put in a lot of work, but at the same time, you'll have like a lot of scope and potential to grow as well. So that's nice thing. Every phase has, or every stage has its pros and cons. So this is mainly about it. And maybe I'll close off by saying one more, disadvantage or pitfall that we need to keep in mind about the stage two. Once you are in phase two, okay, sometimes it might be like really tempting to like try out all the nicest different technologies. It can be like there will be, data engineering is like super hardest field right now. Like, there are new technologies or new tools and new frameworks coming into the market each and every single day. Okay. Like there is DBT, and there is Airflow, there is Snowflake, there is Daxter. There is different kinds of orchestration tools. There is different kinds of processing frameworks. There are different kinds of all different kinds of stuff. There are different cloud vendors like Databricks and AWS, Azure, Snowflake, Microsoft Fabric, and Fivetran. There are so many different players in this field, and sometimes you might feel like wanting to try out each and every stuff. And of course, there is also on-prem like Cloudera, Hadoop, and all that stuff. So you might feel like trying out all the nicest, fanciest technologies, but trust me, guys, okay, they don't matter as long as you are not delivering value to the business. I would say it's not really useful. So you can have like any kind of technology you would be using, but as long as it's not delivering value to the business, nothing else matters. Okay. So money speaks, guys, and money plays the game. So you need to understand that. So I hope now you would have got some kind of understanding on why the data roles, the data roles and responsibilities for data people will be like completely different from company to company or team to team. So now I hope you would have got some kind of understanding. And yeah, and it's really important to understand all these fundamental concepts, in order for you to become a better engineer, and in order for you to know where you are standing, and in order for you to be aware. So that's really important. And hopefully, I thought like you would have understood something, and I hope like if you have understood what I just said, and if you have liked the content, please do like the video, and share and subscribe. And if you are working already in the data team, please comment down in the comment section. I'm really curious to hear. You know in which phase your company or your team is operating. So please comment down in the comment section. Yeah, and thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you with the one more interesting topic. See you, bye.